Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of the council for December 2025. I am Mayor Margaret Thomas and I will be chairing this meeting. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on this evening and share this message from the elders. Kaya kaya Burdias Mamanyot's Kulunga, Nuna de Mort, Nitchin Kulan Nalamaya Kalamanda Buja, Yayi, Nanjurapan, Wachulas Kulan, Tuna, Nuna Danicha, Nunga Buja, Nunga Burdias Kura, Yayi, Burda, Kadala, Burda, Kaya, Yunga. Hello, welcome to our leaders, men, women, family members who have come to our place today. And I'm happy to see you standing on Noongar land of their leaders, past, present and future. The operations of council and the agenda for this meeting are governed by the provisions of the Local Government Act, Standing Orders and City of Kalamunda Code of Conduct. All matters of business listed in the agenda will be dealt with as separate decisions of council. In the event of an emergency, please follow the instructions given by City staff and remain at the assembly point until advised it is safe to leave. Thank you for your attendance and interest, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us via the live stream. It's wonderful to have you tune in and be part of tonight's meeting. Attendance apologies and leave of absence. CEO, are there any?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we don't have any apologies or leaves of absence. We have Councillor Brooke O'Donnell online though.
Thank you. Welcome, Councillor O'Donnell. Questions taken on notice at the previous meeting. There's a question there from Hannah Hill and the response is also there. So, yes.
Hannah's name is Hill, not Hill.
Oh, thank you. We will change that. Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. We move on to public question time and we have a question from Michael Ryan. Mike, would you like to come and ask your question, please? You know the drill, just please give your suburb.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Michael Ryan from High Wycombe. Yeah, 4 questions tonight. Please provide the legal opinion about writing off the value of our houses down to $0. My view is that no government in Australia, Commonwealth, state or local, can say to a landowner, we are writing off the value of your house without consultation and compensation. Landowners in the planning precinct of High Wycombe South are not seeking to develop their land holdings. The then Minister for Planning, Honourable Rita Saffioti, put it succinctly in a letter to me dated 5th of March 2020 that a development contribution is only made if a landowner seeks to develop their land holding. And so I ask a legal opinion about writing off the value of our houses to $0.
I'll go to our Director.
Through the Chair, thank you Mr Ryan for the first question. I understand there's a few more. What we will do is we'll formally take them on notice and give you a more detailed response, although we acknowledge that some of the matters that you're asking for we've either provided before or are unable to provide based on the information that you're given. But we'll endeavour to do the best to make a public statement with respect to your questions.
Yeah, the question about a legal opinion about writing off our house, that has never been asked before, never. So I'm just asking for the first time tonight.
We note that, thank you. If you'd like to do your next 3 questions, then I'll go to our Director of Development Services. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Second question, properties in stage 1, they're classed as STCA, subject to council approval. So the land use classification is a starting point and the ending point is a statutory text in the local planning scheme. Can the City please provide the list of industries in the Forestfield, High Wycombe industrial development zone and their land use classification, which is cross-referenced on the zoning table in the LPS 3. So we're asking for that list of each industry and its land use classification. So go straight to questions 3 or answer that one?
Yes, please.
Okay, third question. The city, please provide the method to calculate and the assumptions used by the city's planning and environment departments, which came to agreement that the width of the residential street along the interface is an appropriate buffer to separate residential from the industries operating in stage 1. Now, I'd rather have the answer to that question, please.
Director?
I'll address both. I think with respect to the second question, Mr. Ryan, I think it would be useful for yourself and myself to sit down and work out exactly which properties. It could be quite a significant task to provide the whole area, their planning approvals and their classification to the land use table for what you're seeking. So if there's a more defined list, I think I would prefer to work with you to define what that looks like. However, we'll do our best to answer that either in broad terms or specific, depending on what we can do to work with you. With respect to the method of calculation or the road width between the interface area of the light industrial area and the structure plan area, there's been a lot of work that's been done with respect to what that interface has looked like. And as you're aware, there's been a working group that's been established to better articulate what that could look like in the future. And state government and the council are working together to try and redefine what that area may look like in the future, and I suspect there'll be another level of engagement with landowners about the appropriateness of what that could be at some stage. We're not at a position at this point in time where we've got a clear answer, although it has been recognised that what's there current and what's there in the future may need to be different.
Yeah, that's the future. We've had 9 years of interaction, so the question is, how did the city calculate and what were the assumptions used that left us with the 200 metre buffer that David Caddy recommended, eliminated? So I'm asking the history of how that buffer was calculated as just the width of the road, because it's pretty disturbing what we have to put up with. So what happened in the past?
Through the chair, because it's a history-based question, we'll need to take that on notice and come back to you with some more detail.
So will I get told how the width of the road finished up being the buffer?
While not entering into debate, we'll do our best to unearth the records of what we have and we'll be able to best answer that question for how it was determined in the past.
Yeah, look, we're sort of over this. We want to know why an industry that's supposed to have a 500 to 1,000 metre buffer is sitting there 30 metres across the road, and no one can tell us the history about how that happened.
I think our director has said that he will look into that. Michael, if you could just go to your last question.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get something answered about that. Question 4. So will council write to the Premier supporting a request for people to draw down on equity in our property to defend and protect ourselves against having to accept heavily discounted offers made to desperate landowners in this small planning precinct of High Wycombe South? The government has to move away from observing a scenario where we have the choice of will and die with no incentive to sell, or else to succumb and sell to a developer at massive discounts of $1 million plus because people need cash. Freezing our funds for 20 to 50 years is surely not legal, especially given our circumstances. And council would be aware that our land is still sterilised by the government. There has been no consultation or consent to change the land use from industrial land in the KHIM for which it was sterilised. So we'll ask council to support our requests to the Premier.
Director, would you like to respond to that?
Again, through the chair, I think through answering the questions, Mr. Ryan, we can put it to the council about whether or not they wish to support your request, and there can be a decision made on that. We'll need to take some of that on notice and advice as to how we would prepare such a request. While you and I have had many discussions on this, not all of those views are shared. And a lot of landowners in this area are going through that transition process and changing land use and still enabling you to live in that area, as you rightly have for several years, and your financial situation are two separate issues from the planning framework. So we'll do our best to put forward something that can be considered by council about whether or not that can be considered, and whether the council wishes to write to the Premier on behalf of the landowners with respect to your needs. But we'll again need to take that on notice and come back at a future time for a decision to be made.
Do you agree our properties can be frozen for 20 to 50 years with no
Michael,
equity drawn
can you
on it?
just limit your things to questions? This is public question time. We can't really enter into any debate. It would be much better if you met with our director if you wish to debate. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a very good answer about our money. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, could I just make a comment, please?
Yes.
I'm one of the older councillors here.
Yes.
I think look, and I take no issue with that Mr. Ryan's saying. I agree with a lot of the stuff he's doing, but he asks things about history. These guys haven't been here 12 months, 2 years max. They don't know a lot of that history, and I think it's not fair that he wants results tonight. He wants the answers this evening. If we can get back to Michael in some way as soon as we can to assist him, that I think that should be of a great help to him. But you know, we've got to understand that a lot of our staff is new. They haven't been around a long time, Mike. So give them a bit of a chance. If they don't get back to you, come back to us.
And to add to that, Michael, it's always much better to put detail in when you've got time rather than on the hop. Did you wish to make a statement?
I think it's useful at this point in time. Yeah, thank you. And again, through the chair, I think in order to address some of the recent engagement at the November OCM, I've prepared a number of comments that I think is useful to put on the record more formally about what the city is actually doing in this space. The city recognises that we are standing at a difficult intersection of forces for High Wycombe South. The city has not sidestepped any of our responsibility to landowners, to the residents, whether they be future or present. We do understand that through land use change, market forces and the impacts of Metronet has created a very complex precinct that has created a necessity for delicate and diligent work by the city to ensure the existing residents can achieve the best possible outcomes. I preface that by saying that this also works to the levers that are available to the city to use. Many landowners continue to use their land in that precinct for the reasons that they originally moved into that area, and some have chosen to sell. Happily, we'll see approximately 80 new families come into the newly subdivided estate that's been delivered by Able Property. And at the same time, we also understand there's several landowners in the precinct who have been impacted by that land use change. State requirements, infill targets, the ability to create an intentional, interconnected city through Metronet have created a challenging planning environment. That's recognised. Unfortunately, many residents are directing their frustrations about land use, market forces and Metronet towards the city, and particularly the council. And despite having limited agency in these, we don't have the decision-making power. What we have available to us, and we are using, is advocacy and collaboration. And this advocacy that the city has embarked upon conveys to developers, departments, both at state and federal, that we have a solution for the landowners, and it's a potential solution for the housing crisis. We have been, and continue to, canvass for better outcomes that go beyond the traditional planning approaches and traditional local government practice. It directly seeks to understand and address the concerns of those affected landowners as best we can, while positioning the precinct to achieve the outcomes as intended by the state. And the city is wholeheartedly committed to partnering with all landowners to resolve these issues and progress development. To date, our advocacy campaign has been incredibly successful. Not only have we had productive meetings with Minister Carey and Emma Cole, who's the chair of the West Australian Planning Commission, Department of Communities, Development WA, we've also got future meetings with the opposition leader, Basil Zemplis, to follow up the meeting with John Carey. And through that, regarding future commitments to meet with Treasury and collaborating with relevant Director Generals to continue to try and unlock the region. Our bi-monthly newsletter, while it lacks for a period of time, is renewed, and the Eastern Region Chronicle and the letters that have been distributed inviting landowners to partner with us, we're seeking to achieve the best possible outcomes together. The city has in the past delivered a structure plan, delivered a draft contribution plan, and proposed a metropolitan scheme amendment, all planning measures for which are now before the state for their consideration. It's also our belief that the state will continue to support this body of work that's been undertaken. The significant bodies of work speak to the city's commitment and the perseverance of unlocking the eastern region, and particularly High Wycombe South. And the city, to date, and will continue to advocate on behalf of landowners, our residents, and the future prosperity of our communities. They're some of the things that we've been undertaking at this point in time. I do understand there's several landowners that are frustrated in the precinct, and we ask them to continue to work with us as best they can to try and achieve the best outcomes in that area.
Thank you very much.
I repeat one question, one statement. Minister Saffioti said in 220, a development contribution is only made if a landowner seeks to develop their land holding. No one has told the council that they seek to develop their land holding, so no one should have that DCP taken away from their price. Thank you very much.
Do you want to comment on that?
We note Mr Ryan's opinion on the matter. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr Ryan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, there aren't.
David Downing from High Wycombe. Item 11.2 suggests that the city has agreed to a $10 million contribution towards the High Wycombe Community Hub project. My understanding is that the federal government donated $30 million and the state government matched that donation with another $30 million. I don't recall at any time public disclosure that the city has or will contribute $10 million or that the state government commitment has changed. I can see nothing in the current city budget to reflect this $10 million. Is the council or the city planning to publicly disclose details of this matter, especially considering the considerable amount of ratepayers' funds involved? Thank you.
Director of Development Services.
Thank you, and David, and through the chair. The city has previously put on the record a level of commitment subject to additional funding being sought from government, referencing state and federal, and no decision at this point in time has been made to exactly what that commitment looks like. That's still a matter to be discussed by this council at some future stage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Downing. Are there any applications for leave of absence? There's not really any point, is there?
Madam Mayor, no, they're not.
Councillors, do I have a mover that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of November 2025 are confirmed as a true and accurate record of those proceedings? Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Madolo. Is there going to be any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. On the basis of the above motion, I now sign the minutes as a true and accurate record of that meeting. Announcements by the member presiding. Before we do make those announcements, I would like to pause and acknowledge a tragic loss that has deeply affected the local government sector. On behalf of the City of Kalamunda, I extend our deepest condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of Councillor Mark Moody, Deputy President of the Shire of Ravensthorpe, who sadly lost his life while responding to a bushfire in West River earlier this month. Councillor Moody was a dedicated community leader, elected as a councillor in 2019 and Deputy President earlier this year. His passing is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers faced by those who serve, whether in elected roles or on the fire ground. And our thoughts are with the Ravensthorpe community during this incredibly difficult time. As we near the end of the year, the calendar may have been shorter, but it is no less meaningful. On the 27th of the 11th, we had our last local emergency management committee for the year. This committee brings together all the people involved in emergencies such as police, fire, schools, government agencies, Red Cross, etc., and they are very worthwhile meetings. On Saturday, Councillor Cannon and I visited the Forestfield Police Station Community Open Day. It was fabulous to see so many people from across our community exploring the facilities, chatting with local officers and learning more about the important work they do. Events like this are a great way to build trust, connection and community pride. And it was also excellent for young people who are considering becoming cadets in the police force to see the different pathways they could go down in that service. Tomorrow, Deputy Mayor Ritchie and I will be representing the city at the Metro Outer Development Assessment Panel meeting. And on Friday, we will have our Thank a Volunteer Day celebration. This is always a highlight and a chance to say thank you to the people who selflessly give their time to make our city stronger, safer and more connected. And of course, we'll be gathering once more for one of the most magical events on our calendar, Sturt Park Carols, this Sunday the 14th of December. It's always a beautiful evening of music, community and festive cheer. I hope to see many of you there. As this is our final council meeting for 2025, I want to take a moment to thank my fellow councillors, our executive team and all city staff for your hard work and dedication this year. To our community, I wish you a safe, restful and joyful festive season. However you mark this time of year, whether with family, friends, faith or quiet reflection, I hope you find connection and comfort. And for those who may find this season difficult, please know you are not alone. Our community cares deeply and help is always within reach. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing our work together in 2026. Councillors, you have a few matters for which the meeting may be closed: the High Wycombe Community Hub, the audit reports. I move on to disclosure of interest. CEO, are there any disclosures of interest?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes there is. There's one, and it's disclosure from myself, CEO, for item 10.6.1, CEO KPIs. It's an impartiality interest as it affects my employment contract with the city.
Thank you. So, councillors, we move on to reports. The first one is the market-led proposals policy. The officer recommendation is on page 18. Is there a mover? Councillor Cooper, seconder. Councillor Madolo. Councillors, do you have any questions? Is there going to be any debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 10.1.2 we will take to item 15 behind closed doors. So we move on to 10.6.1, Chief Executive Officer Key Performance Indicators. You've all seen these, and our CEO made some changes after councillors gave their thoughts. So I'm seeking a mover for the officer recommendation on page 24. Councillor Ritchie, and a seconder. Councillor Clark. Councillors, is there going to be any debate? Are there any questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Oh, sorry, Councillor O'Donnell, are you in favour of that?
Yes.
Thank you. We move on to the internal audit report. Councillors, you can ask questions about anything not in the pink pages. Is there a mover for the officer recommendation on page 31? Councillor Madolo, and a seconder. Councillor Cooper. Councillors, do you have any questions that you can ask here? Is there going to be any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried
Yes.
unanimously. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. 10.6.3, the annual audit findings. Councillors, again, is there a mover for the officer recommendation on page 38? Councillor Madolo, seconded by Councillor Cooper. Thank you, councillors. Oh, you clearly love audit reports. Are there any questions? Is there going to be any debate, councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Grogan Road renaming. I think Grogan Road needs renaming. So it's going to be changed to Abbott Road. The officer recommendation is on page 42. Is there a mover for this? Yes, I'll go to questions. I'll just get a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cannon. Councillor Cooper, is there a seconder? Councillor Billich. I'll go to questions. Councillor Cannon.
Through the chair. It states on 8 point that the city must apply to the State Geographic Names Committee to have the section formally renamed and update any road signs. Is there a cost to the city for that? And if so, do we know how much?
Would that be the Director of Asset Services? Oh, the Manager of Strategic Planning, please.
Through the Chair, thank you for your question. Those costs are embedded within the city's existing resources and budgeted allowance. There are costs associated with undertaking the physical activity of changing signs, in which case Perth Airport are expected to cover those costs.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question.
Follow-up question?
So what's the fallout or the difference if we don't rename the road?
Manager?
Through the Chair, could I please have some clarification around the question?
Sorry, they're requesting that we change the name. So what if you don't change the name?
Through the Chair, there would be a non-compliant road name, if you like. There would be potential risks associated with services accessing businesses that front onto that section of road, and general confusion, given there would be two segments of Grogan Road. So that would, I guess, be the consequence. It could be, and I'd have to take this element on notice, but it could be that the name would need to be changed anyway. In that, irrespective of the city's position on the matter, an application could be put forward without the city's position. So.
Are there any other questions, councillors? Councillor Madolo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It goes to the renaming, but also to the closure of Grogan Road more broadly, and I note recommendation number 4, that all community consultation and stakeholder management is going to be undertaken by the Perth Airport. A comment then a question. A lot of the consultation I've had with the community, there doesn't seem to be a great awareness about the Grogan Road closure generally, and certainly not the renaming. I just have concerns that If we leave it all in the hands of the Perth Airport, unless you follow Perth Airport's Facebook page, you're probably not going to know it's going to happen. Is there any intention from the city to communicate with our ratepayers as to the closure and the renaming?
Manager of Strategic Planning.
Through the chair, certainly a request can be made for Perth Airport to undertake a greater level of engagement. I know to date the previous temporary closures, and there have been temporary closures this year. The city has relayed engagement activities of Perth Airport through our online channels. In terms of specific stakeholders that need to be engaged, Perth Airport are talking to those business owners that are specifically fronting onto that segment of road, but understand the question around broad awareness. The city's done what it can in terms of repeating that engagement activity, and can certainly ask for more if there's more specific nature of engagement that the council may ask for.
Follow-up question, Councillor Madolo.
Thanks for that, Chris. And look, short of amending the motion to sort of request that we do it, I just asked the question if the city might consider perhaps, I have noticed the relaying of the Perth Airport's material, and I think that helps. So if there's anything further in that regard, not saying it needs huge resources, that perhaps the city might consider continuing that relaying of the Perth Airport message to reach a wider audience. Thanks.
Thank you, taken on board, and I hope the City of Kalamunda does not get blamed for closing Grogan Road, because a lot of people are very unhappy about that. We've got a mover and a seconder. No more questions? Is there going to be any debate, councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. So we move on to motions of which previous notice has been given. We have one from Councillor Madolo, and thank you, Councillor Madolo, for your rationale. It makes a lot of sense and gives us a chance to understand what you're thinking. Do you have a seconder? Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Giardina. Councillors, do you have any questions? Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. To the chair. Oh, it's actually a good motion, but I just curious. Would we have any issue with a polyphagous shot hole borer, as in moving, like if we were taking trees out of the area to perhaps potentially to sell into other areas?
Perhaps our Director of Asset Services could give us some information.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. The risk of the borer could be considered as part of the analysis for council's consideration in the future. We haven't yet undertaken further detail on that.
Are there any other questions? I'm going to ask Councillor Madolo if he would outline his motion so those watching remotely can understand it, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When you say outline the motion, did you mean sort of reading it out verbatim or just speaking sort of generally to it? No, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. Council, the motion before you tonight is a deliberately modest one. It doesn't commit the city to building a nursery. It simply asks for a business case so that we can assess with proper information whether establishing a level of tree production in-house makes financial, environmental and operational sense. At present, we spend between $35,000 and $80,000 each year purchasing trees from external suppliers. And whilst I note we do receive grant funding, there is a contribution of half of that ratepayers make towards it. We can expect that cost to grow as demand for trees grows across the metro area. We are competing with other local governments, we're competing with government agencies, we're competing with the private industry, all for the same stock. And as staff will attest to, the availability of certain species can be a bit hit and miss. Some of the trees that are best suited to our local environment simply aren't available when we need them to be, or not at the quantities required. Further, the gold standard in environmental restoration and planting is to source tree stock from as close to the local environment as possible. So all of that raises a fair question. Is it better, is it more reliable, and is it more cost effective for us to secure the stock we need? These are the questions that the business case will answer. A city nursery, whether operated by us or in a joint venture or through a partnership, it might provide that better control over availability. It might save us long term. It might even give us revenue generating opportunities if we choose and have the ability to sell to other local governments, to other government agencies, to the private industry. I also see opportunities for community involvement, getting the school kids involved, getting a seniors hub involved to assist with the nursery can help engage and activate our community. But right now, Council, all of those are just possibilities. We can't know whether the benefits outweigh the negatives without proper analysis, and this motion simply commissions that analysis. For those reasons, I urge Council please to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Madolo. I'll go to Councillor Giardina for your comments as the seconder.
What more can I add, Madam President? I
Not
think
a
you
lot.
said it all. Thanks, no.
Thank you. Councillors, is there going to be any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Madolo. Councillors, we're going to move 11.2 to behind closed doors at item 15. So we move on to questions by members without notice. I have a couple of comments which I'm going to turn into a question by saying, did you know, in reading the audit report, the internal audit report, did you know that the city's waste plan was the first in WA to be signed off, showing early compliance with state waste strategy requirements? And did you know that the city believes it was the first local government to individually apply for carbon credits through the Clean Energy Regulator for its FOGO project, for which it subsequently received approval? So I just want to say to our Director of Asset Services, when the auditors looked at the whole FOGO journey, it was very complimentary and well done. Thank you. Councillors, do you have any other questions without notice? You can ask any question. Councillor Madolo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question relates to the Norm Sadler Pavilion project down in Maida Vale. I just wouldn't mind an update from the city with respect to how that's going. I understood that completion was sort of due around now, and walking the dog the other day I saw that there's a little bit to go, so just an update would be great.
Director of Asset Services, please.
Through the Chair, thank you for the question. Construction for the pavilion is ongoing. I believe that practical completion is not expected until closer to the end of this financial year, I believe in May, but happy to provide some more details on the project to councillors.
Councillor Billett, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. I have two. They're only very minor. One is, please, can we have the batteries changed in that clock up there, please? It really annoys me. And the other question is, where I sit here on my desk, I don't know if the other councillors have the same problem, but the lower ledge on this is extremely rough, and it's catching my clothing and that, and I really would like to have that addressed, please. I know they're very old and that, but they're very rough, and if I could have that attended to, I would really appreciate that, please.
I'll go to our CEO.
Yes to both.
Are there any other questions? He's in a good mood. He's saying yes. Ask now. Are there any other questions? No. There are no questions by members of which due notice has been given, and there is no urgent business approved by the presiding member or by decision. So we now go to item 15, meeting closed to the public, and I would ask our visitors to vacate. And thank you for your attendance this whole year, David. It's very sad when you're not here. For us. So can I have a mover that we go behind closed doors? Councillor Billett, seconded by Councillor Cannon. All those in favour?
Yeah.
That is carried unanimously.